Hello everybody, and thank you for watching and being part of my vegan journey. So in today's video I want to give some tips to people that are strongly considering becoming vegan. They want to become vegan, but it's hard and it's daunting. I mean, I understand. I ate meat for 43 years and I finally became vegan, but guess what? I had some failed attempts before I did. So yeah, like over the years, I was like, did it for a day, did it for 2 days. Sometimes I would start in the morning and by lunchtime I'd failed. And, you know, if you're anything like me, like if you've got family that are not vegan in your house, and then they're like cooking up meat, you know, especially, you know, some of these really nice smelling meats like southern fried chicken or bacon, and these aromas fill the house and it's not easy, right? So yeah, it's easy to fail, right? Unless you have a very strong why, right? So we're going to talk about some tips on how to become vegan. But let me tell you this right at the start. This is very important. Yeah, it doesn't matter what methods or tips or strategies you follow. You will only succeed if you have a strong why, right? If you have a strong why, that's all you need. That's all the fuel you need, right? And that brings me to tip number one, right? So tip number one is what I did, right? So when I finally became vegan and stayed vegan, it was, and pardon me for the inappropriate pun, but I did it cold turkey, right? Okay, so, and how did I do it cold turkey? It was because the why was so strong. I used a technique which I call the shock factor, right? So basically what I did is I sat down and I watched documentaries. There's lots of them out there. You've probably heard of them. Maybe you've seen some of them already. And guess what? Sometimes I had to watch them a couple of times for it to really seep into my soul, right? So we're talking about Dominion, Earthlings, Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy. Okay, so there's lots of documentaries. Just watch as many as you can, right? Just watch a load, go on a marathon, you know, really absorb the information, right? Because, you know, some of these are so powerful and they're all factual. They all provide sources to the claims that they make. Okay, so you can then go and check out those sources, see if it's true. Okay, and yeah, very, very powerful, right? So definitely watch them. Now, when I watch them, it was the animal cruelty, it was the animal suffering that really got to me emotionally. There has to be some kind of an emotionality here. It can't just be like academic research, although academic research is definitely a thing which ought to, you know, compel us to making our decisions, but you know, there has to be an emotional thing, okay? So, you know, for me, the animals, because I've got a soft spot for animals, and it just made me think, wow, I don't want to eat a sentient being. I don't want to eat an intelligent animal that wants to live, that feels the same emotions as I do, right? They all do, right? But anyway, this is not a preach video about that. We're just going with some practical tips here. So let's just move on. So yeah, watch them, and like when I did, it was like I filled my mind with it and I thought about it that much, and then it was like easy then, right? But this is an add-on to that tip, right? Make sure if you do that, if you're going to go cold turkey, which is a bold move, but if you're going to do that, make sure that you do your grocery shopping, plan your meals, do what you have to do, but do not find yourself in a position where you're hungry, or as the saying goes, hangry, right? And you don't have anything that you can grab to eat, right? Especially on a vegan diet, it's often low calorie, yeah, because you're eating a lot of water-rich foods as well. Yeah, just don't be in a position where you're not getting enough calories, you're not getting enough food, you get yourself hangry, right? Next thing, you're driving along and you just like zip into the drive-through, right? And yeah, so just don't do that. Just be well, you know, failing to plan is planning to fail. Just make sure that you got yourself covered there, right? Okay, now let's go into some tips like beyond the cold turkey, because that's hard and not everyone can do that, not everyone wants to do that, right? But with these other tips, do definitely watch those documentaries and, like, you know, just kind of do your research, yeah, surf the web and get informed, right? Okay, So the next thing you can do is you can do like one animal at a time, right? So what do I mean by that? Okay, so what you could do is you could say, well, you know, I think I'll give up like cows, I'll give up the beef, right? Or you say give up red meat, yeah? So, you know, you give something up, right? And so you're not giving everything up, you're not throwing yourself into it cold turkey, you're just giving something up for a while, and then you do another thing, right? So now it's like no beef, no pork, right? And then no beef, no pork, no fish, right? And you build up that way. So that's one way you can do it. Now the other way you can do it is you could go one meal at a time or one day at a time. So what you do is you could say, well, okay, I'm going to be plant-based meals like Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. Or it could be 1 day or 2 days a week, maybe 3 days a week. But then eventually you're going to increase that. So you're going to go, okay, so it's going to be Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and I'm going to throw in Tuesday as well, you know. Maybe don't start on 3 days. It depends, like, it depends on what you're capable of and how ready you are, right? So you could do it that way. Or you could just say, well, you know what, breakfast and lunch, I'm just going to go plant-based and I'll just have meat in my dinner, right? That's another way you can do it. There's so many ways you can, like, dice this up, right? But it's basically about doing it gradually, starting to transit into plant-based diets, right? So, you know, what you could do is you could say, and you can do this straight away because this is like maybe the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. This is the easy way, is just go like, okay, let's try some plant-based milks. Let's move away from dairy milk and let's go to plant-based. Now, let me warn you, that did not go too well for me because the hardest thing for me was giving up my milk in my coffee. I love milk in my coffee, and I found that like I would rather have no coffee than black coffee. I had to have a bit of colour in my coffee. I had to have a bit of milk in my coffee, but and I was addicted to coffee, still am, right? But like I tried different plant-based milks and they tasted horrible. They tasted like cardboard. I just couldn't get along with it at all. Now, how I did it is eventually, like, when I got this shock factor, like, I just, like, my eyes were blown open. I had, like, this amazing, like, my life was turned upside down, you know, finding out about the dairy industry, the meat industry, and everything else, right? Then I just thought, okay, right, well, I have to pick a milk, right? And I'm just going to have to get used to it. And that's exactly what happened. So, of all the milks, oat milk was my favourite. And I say favourite, but I didn't like it. I didn't like oat milk. But I thought, oh, well, I'll maybe cut down on my coffee, but you know what? I'm just going to have oat milk. And guess what? Now I prefer oat milk to normal milk. I prefer it, right? It's actually really nice, but it took me a little bit to get to like it. It took me a little bit. It didn't happen straight away, okay? So the next thing is, like, you can go, like, before you go vegan, you can go vegetarian. A lot of people will attest to that. A lot of people. You can go vegetarian. There are people that have been vegetarian for years before they go vegan, right? So you can go vegetarian, or you can start off with pescatarian, right? So, you know, go pescatarian, then you got some meat, right? Now, hey, I know that this isn't like good advertising for you know what I mean? It's not advertising, is it? But it's just a figure of speech. But I'm a vegan. I'm against animal cruelty. I'm against eating animals. But like I told you, I ate meat for 43 years. You know, the world's not going to become vegan tomorrow. Like, you're here watching this video because you've done a search or you've navigated here some way because you are wanting to try the vegan lifestyle, or you want to become vegan. Well, I'm just trying to help because guess what? Like, let's live in the real world, right? You may feel that you just can't go vegan. It's just not as simple as that, right? Even though you believe that eating animals is wrong or exploiting animals is wrong, you could very well believe that. But hey, let's strategize, because better that you achieve it somehow, someday, than not at all, right? And that's why we're doing this. That's why I'm doing this video. So yeah, pescatarian to vegan, pescatarian to vegetarian to vegan, or just go straight to vegan or whatever. You know, what is finding what works for you, okay? So the next thing that I would highly recommend is improve your relationships with animals. So if you've got pets, be more petty with them, if that's a thing, right? So I've got a dog. When I became vegan, I don't know, I just like, I felt closer to him, right? you know, it's talking to him more, stroking him more, you know, had more respect and like felt more of a kindred spirit with him. So, you know, really try to improve your relationship with your pets first. But guess what? When you're out and about, if you see, I don't know where you live or what's around, but for me, I've got some fields about, there's cattle. So not so long ago, I stopped at the side of the road and I went up to the fence and there was some cows and I beckoned them to come over, and guess what they did? I thought, oh, that's great. So then they were a little bit shy, but I tried to stroke them and I was talking to them. And it's nice, yeah. So this will help. This helps fuel your motivation, right? To, you know, keep fighting the good fight, so to speak. Yeah, to stay on the good and what's the word, the good and narrow, or whatever, the straight and narrow, Stay on the straight and narrow road. Yeah. So really, like, yeah. And horses, I love horses. Okay. Right, so, you know, you can like check out debates on YouTube. There's loads of debates, like, what's that guy's name? Joey Carbstrong. Yeah, does street debates and all that. Sometimes he's a bit rude or a bit harsh or aggressive, but hey, he's got some bloody good points. And I tell you what, you watch them, that will help remind you and motivate you as well, because guess what? There's no danger of you ever thinking, oh yeah, that debater on the against side made some good points, because guess what? I've yet to find a decent point why veganism is not a good idea. Like, I've yet to hear a decent point. You hear a lot of arguments as to why veganism is not a good idea and blah, blah, blah. But there's like, they're not strong arguments at all. And like, they're, you know, they're just not. They are not. And you'll not hear anything you haven't heard before as well. I'm waiting to hear something new. I've not heard anything new for a long time, but yeah, definitely they are not. They're not backed by science at all. So yeah, watch some debates, because you'll definitely get more inspiration on the pro-vegan side. Okay. Yeah. So that will be it for today. So thank you for listening. Let me know in the comments down below if there's any tips that I've not mentioned, and you might have some amazing ones of your own, and I may not have mentioned that. Well, guess what? Don't, you know, sharing is caring. Put them in the comments for the benefit of all, right? So anything that you have to add, just stick them in the comments. Please give my video a like if you liked it, and please subscribe so that you can get more content just like this as I publish more content. And thank you very much for listening. Take care. Bye bye.